welcome to Experience Cleveland County. This is a show all about the Cleveland County Chamber of Commerce and our community partners working together to make this a better community to live, work, and play. This is a service of Cleveland Community College on C19, found on Spectrum Cable. You can also view it online for a limited time by going to c19tv.com or c19.tv, and you'll be able to share that link with your friends and family, maybe share a little bit of your own hometown with someone who doesn't live here. I'm Jackie Sibley Newton, your host, and today my guest is Jim Cluck, and you are with Metalworks Manufacturing and Ultra Armoring. Am I saying that correct?
President of both, yes.
And they're two separate companies?
It is. I mean, the
Okay.
sign has actually 3 companies on it.
It does.
So we refer to it as Team Shelby most of the time.
That's a great name.
But the company has a parent in Lincoln, Nebraska called Universal Manufacturing.
Okay.
And they had some companies that they moved from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to the facility that we're currently in there in outside of town. And so we have Manlift Manufacturing, Metalworks Manufacturing, and Ultra Armoring. And each have their own role, but they're somewhat symbiotic and work together on a number of projects.
Okay. So, and the buildings are adjacent to each other, but I only see 2 buildings from 74. Is there a third, or are they sort of all intertwined in the same property area?
Gee, I guess if I was thinking of it from above, there's 2 really large buildings. Yes.
Yeah.
We think of them in a back manufacturing area where we do a lot of cutting and forming and manufacturing welding type of activities, and then we have another area where we're doing some vehicle assembly and some other work, but that's attached to the main administrative offices. So it sort of looks like it's just a big administrative area with a large warehouse at the back, but it's really more than that.
So how is managing 3 different businesses on one property? How does that work?
Well, full disclosure, I'm only the president of 2 of them.
Okay.
So the third occupant there, Manlift, is run by a good friend, Joe Banks, and they have a series of lifts and booms that are sold in industry that have a unique capability of having electrical isolation, so they can be used in paint facilities and areas where where you don't get a spark that would be dangerous for an explosion. And they have some patents on designs for that, and one of the only companies in the U.S. that actually builds to that standard. So he runs that, and then I have the Metalworks and the Ultra Armoring side of the business. So the differentiation pretty much is Metalworks handles all of the steel, comes in as flat. It's cut, it's formed through a variety of press brakes, machined however might be required according to the drawing, welded, painted, put in whatever fabrication form it needs to be, and then goes to an ultimate customer. Sometimes that customer is Ultra Armoring, which it just sort of moves to the other side of the plant.
That's convenient.
And we then use that to armor vehicles. So the mission, if you'll call it that, of Ultra Armoring is to provide custom capabilities and armoring solutions to a wide variety of vehicles, whether they be Department of Defense, federal, interagency, or commercial needs.
So there is a commercial need at times, or what we'll say a private need for armored vehicles or something of that nature.
Sure. I mean, your mind this time of the year, I mean, in this age, I guess, goes to, maybe a celebrity or somebody requiring an armored vehicle, but every day you pass an armored truck moving things between banks, and so there's lots of commercial opportunities. Right now we're not working on any of those. Our primary work is with the U.S. government on armoring some vehicles, but they have done a number of different types of vehicles over the years.
And is that always a custom situation where they express the need, and is the design done there, or is that provided from somewhere else?
No, if you're talking the armoring of the vehicles, for the most part, the design is done by the engineers at Ultra Armoring. And it's in response to requirements that are solicited by the government. And it's like any other part of the defense industry. They solicit it, you look at the requirements, you give them your proposal, and if you're fortunate to be selected. Ultra Armoring is on a multi-award contract with the Department of State that has a 10-year life to it. And it's exclusively small businesses, has about another 8 years of life to it. And so there's going to be a continuing requirement for us to be building a wide variety of of non-standard commercial vehicles is what we refer to it as.
Okay.
Land Cruisers, Suburbans, those types of things. And currently we're specializing in the Land Cruiser 200 model of vehicles.
Well, there was a vehicle on display at the American Legion World Series.
Yes.
It was a really big vehicle. What type of vehicle would you say
Well,
that is?
that's called a Mamba. And it is quite popular in Africa right now. And we are building, fabricating, and integrating those for a U.S. company called Osprey North America.
Okay.
And they have quite a large demand outside the United States. So Osprey handles all of the requirements associated with the government for the export of all those things, and we're building them for them.
All right.
So the really exciting part of that is, if you could sort of turn back the clock and show a time-elapse thing, that vehicle a few months ago was just a pile of steel laying out back.
Okay,
And so
that was going to be my next
completely
question.
built.
Do you get like a vehicle to start with and you add on, or it's all?
And for the case of the Mamba, that was just stacks of steel,
And it became that
and the
vehicle.
design that we had, and it was cut with the special machines that we have, and formed with the special press brakes that we have, and all the welding.
Yeah.
And turned it into that. We have a paint facility that we use up in Forest City, and we run it through there for that special kind of paint on it. And the automotive components are added to it, and they drive it out of the plant. So that was really the first of its kind of that kind of work here.
Wow.
The rest of Ultra Armoring had primarily been modifying existing vehicles, so you have to take them completely apart,
Right.
put an armor capsule inside of them, then put everything back together so it
Right.
looks like a showroom vehicle that you would be buying from your local Toyota dealer.
Okay.
So that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that would be. But I can see where celebrities or people who are in royalty in other countries even might need something like that, and they would not necessarily want it to look like a military vehicle. They're going to want it to look
Sure.
like a personal vehicle. So.
Sure. And
Wow.
you know, a lot of people think, well, maybe the choice of vehicle
Yeah.
is probably more a function of its ability to have parts no matter where it would be used in the world.
Right.
Toyota certainly has a good parts distribution process.
Yeah.
But these vehicles are used in a variety of requirements for Department of State, and we provide them to them in Washington, and they ship them around the world to where they're going to be used.
Wow. Now, on the other side of things with metalworks, that's sort of a different aspect of things, because everything there is different, if I'm understanding how that business works
Yeah,
correctly.
so the work that comes into Metalworks is generally those things that come from a customer for which there are already drawings for the most part. So it's an assessment of what it takes to cut it, form it, machine it, weld it,
Right.
fabricate it, paint it, get it out the door.
Yeah.
And those things are in pretty rapid cycles. So I would say days, maybe weeks, as opposed to what happens on the Ultra Armoring side, where the work that's being done in the Metalworks machines is going to last for months or a year on end.
Okay.
So as you're doing all the subassemblies and things that comprise that vehicle, that's a lot of cutting and forming and welding. Other things that are exclusively commercial that come into Metalworks are straightforward things of cut it, form it, paint it, get it out the door.
Get it out there.
Yeah,
So that the
right.
turnover on that is
much higher.
Much higher. Right.
And they work together, so
Right.
people can send job orders and purchase orders to Metalworks for those efforts to be done, or it can come into the Ultra Armoring side where it's more of a completed vehicle that we would use the tools within Metalworks
Metalworks,
to do
right.
the early stuff, but the final assembly would come from Ultra Armoring.
Okay. Now, at what point did they divide, or were there two companies that decided let's work together? How did this come about?
So we'll go into a little bit of history that probably I'm not up on as much as maybe I should
Okay.
be. But I first became, I guess, associated with that plant in 2014 when the current owner, Frank Stewart, was managing Ultra Machine and
Machines.
Fabrication.
Right.
In 2015, the Universal Manufacturing purchased it from Frank. I was on Frank's military board of advisors, so I was aware of what was there.
Okay.
After the acquisition of the company by Universal Manufacturing, I sat on the board of directors of Universal Manufacturing until at the end of last calendar year when opening occurred here and they asked me to come in and take over as the president.
Okay.
But when they moved the facility from Milwaukee down and created the man lift facility here, they took what had been all of the cutting, forming, tooling that was there with Frank in ultra machine and fabrication and made that the metalworks portion of it, and then sort of just took on the ultra name for the armoring of vehicles, which Frank had done before with some government contracts and military contracts. So the same kind of work has always been going on there. The real addition was the scissor lifts and the booms that came with the man lift when it moved from Milwaukee.
And then just sort of a division of what.
Right. And so we operate
Ultra
each
was
of them.
doing.
We operate each of them with its own, as its own center, as its own profit center, reporting to Mr. Tom Hance, who's the president and CEO of Universal Manufacturing in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay. So is there another facility, are there other facilities like this in other parts of the country?
There's another piece of Universal Manufacturing, and they do automotive part remanufacturing in Algona, Iowa. Company that's been there, I guess, over 75 years.
Wow.
And they do transfer cases and brake calipers and things like that. And I think it started World War II time when defense industry was really demanding all of the output from the big Detroit automobile producers. So they set up a number of smaller companies to provide parts so people could continue to maintain the cars and vehicles that they had here in the States. And that just continued on after World War II. So they've been doing that for a long time.
For a very long time.
Yep.
Seems like they would be really good experts at that right now.
Well, for transfer cases and calipers,
And we need those. Everybody needs those.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we'll talk a little bit about the hiring process at both of those facilities. I'm getting tongue-tied today. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on c19.tv.
Be a part of building the future. Be a welder. The Welding Technology program at Cleveland Community College prepares you with the science, the technology, and the skills to be a successful welder. Experienced instructors using state-of-the-art equipment train students using industry-standard skills developed through classroom training and practical application. Successful graduates are in high demand and are employed as entry-level technicians in welding and metalworking industries. Learn more. Call Cleveland Community College at 704-669-4077.
Someone once said that without music, life would be a mistake. And that's how we feel here on Face the Music. Hi, I'm Summer Castle-Keever, and I'd love for you to join me each month on our new program, Face the Music, which airs on C19 TV and C19.tv. Each month, we'll highlight the talents, personalities, and stories behind some of the area's most gifted singers, songwriters, and musicians. It's going to be a lot of fun, so join me each month for a new edition of Face the Music right here on C19.
Take two. No, keep going. I don't know. Have one question.
Yes.
Are those crabs on your shirt?
They are.
I just noticed that a couple of minutes ago.
I was preparing.
I've been mesmerized ever since.
Exactly. What the heck?
Tim, you all right back there?
She gets into a soul cycle accident.
A soul cycle accident. Yeah.
What?
Soul cycle.
It's like an exercise class where they're all
Oh, no wonder I don't know what you're talking about.
Welcome back to Experience Cleveland County. I am Jackie Sibley Newton, your host, and we've been talking with Jim Cluck of Metalworks Manufacturing and Ultra Armoring.
Right.
Got it. I had to look at my notes for a second.
Right. Right.
And we were talking a little bit on our break about the equipment and about the special things that you have at the facility.
So the interesting, I guess, aspect of Metalworks is that they have some machines that I think are greater in capacity than you'll find most places in the eastern half of the United States anyway. And we have a press brake. You know, when you're bending steel, you have to have something that presses down on it to be able to make those corners and the bends. And if you saw the the vehicle that was over there at the ball game, lots of bends, lots of curves. Machines have to do that. Well, we have a press brake that has a pressure of 2,000 tons.
Oh,
so it can bend steel that's 40 feet long at one time. So nobody else has that capability. And prior to pressing anything, you're going to have to cut it to the specific dimensions. We have some very large laser cutters that can cut 1-inch thick steel. And in lengths of over 70 feet, and actually you could have probably over 200 feet of steel laying there. And gantry is able to cut stuff overnight under a computer program. So it also gets into the allure and trying to attract talent. And as you know, Beth Norman and I talk about how we try and get younger folks interested in the manufacturing business. It isn't the, it sort of isn't just the hard hat, I'm dirty and hot and working every day. There's a lot of high-tech things associated with it. And running those machines, being able to program the laser cutters, there's a lot of sophistication required and a lot of interest. Even welding itself is quite an interesting process.
Yeah,
so
it is.
we try and have folks come through to give them an understanding and maybe tweak their interest in that in the future.
Well, I know that one of the aspects of our economic development division with Charlotte's Backyard is to try to attract that younger talent and to educate young people that there are job opportunities in manufacturing. And I think a lot of people do picture that wearing the hard hat, the assembly line, repeating the same motion over and over and over. And it's really not at all like that.
No.
It seems like every job sort of has its own differences, and you're really going to face something different every day.
And that's true. And so the term manufacturing a lot of times gives someone the mental image of a long assembly line of bottles or something moving down it, and caps being put on it, and somebody performing some operation, and you think, well, that would get kind of boring every day if I was running that kind of machine. And our work is almost customized at every level. So the folks that are doing the work within Metalworks, working on custom jobs all the time, as back in our mission statement, is custom capabilities and armor solutions. So every job is unique, and if you're lucky to get a long run of something, that's good. But it's not the long.
It's not going to stay there forever.
Soda bottles going past somebody at $1 million at a rate a month. No, it's not that.
And let's talk a little bit about the job opportunities besides welding. I mean, obviously that is one of the jobs that's available, but if we're telling children to look into this career, what sorts of things should they be looking to study in high school? Which track should they maybe be on? Where do they go? Let's kind of walk through that process.
Well, I think if they can understand the whole breadth of what a manufacturing process would entail, from the upfront design aspect. So if you like drafting, if you like any aspect of engineering, that would be something that would attract someone's attention. I know a lot of folks in high school take a drafting class as part of some even maybe 9th grade level shop kind of things that are required. So if that becomes attractive to them, well, there's a whole career in that side of drafting and that side of understanding drawings. And the engineering aspect, of course, of whether they go to a 2-year or a 4-year institution to get a degree in engineering, it's not just engineering to build a rocket ship. It's engineering to understand how to apply what's on a drawing and make it manufacturable. And it's not as simple as one might think.
It already sounds very complicated for me.
So how do I make the parts in order to efficiently assemble it is one aspect. And then there's manufacturing engineers who are specifically looking at what are the processes associated with how the stuff flows through a plant. So a lot of complex computer-based real thinking level jobs that are associated with that. The people who are running the Tanaka laser cutters, they're programming a computer to try and figure out what's the optimum number of things that you can cut out of any one piece of steel. The people who are running the large press brakes are doing that with a bit of art as well as skill of how they get the things to form at the right angles. And so that opens a whole wide range of interests for kids, from the hard engineering math side to the, hey, I want to do something that might be a little artsy as well as the crafty part. And given that vehicle that you saw, we need one heck of a lot of people who understand automotive aspects. So you may be working with your dad on the weekend doing something on a car that might be of interest to you, but we have to paint, we have to put the vehicles back together again, and as we were assembling something like that Mamba, it requires a complete build of a vehicle. You know, the things show up, but you have to build it together. So there's just the skill and the art, and the folks that are doing this on a daily basis are just phenomenal to see them take those different parts, figure out how to do it, and do it with a little bit of do it a little better every day so it gets a little faster. And I think when we took the first large Mambas and put them on wheels, it took almost half a day to get everything lined up on the axles and get everything connected. The teams working on it, I think by the time they got to the 6th Mamba, they could do it in less than 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So it's just an amazing, an amazing set of skills.
And even putting a vehicle together these days isn't just a mechanical thing anymore. There's a lot of computer aspects and electronics that go into a vehicle now, and that's a job all in itself, is understanding the electronics of a vehicle. And that's a technician's job as well.
People who know hydraulics, people that know electronics associated with vehicles, and just even the electrical subassemblies that go with it. People that are a diesel mechanic. So we have a wide range of requirements, and folks that just need to, how to put a vehicle back together again. So you can go to a local body shop. Unfortunately, maybe your car had some kind of accident and they make it well again. Well, they have to know how to take the parts and put it back together. It's the exact same skill that we're looking for in our area, because we take vehicles apart and we put them back together.
Now, if someone were interested in applying for a position, because we do see the now hiring signs in a lot of different places, where would they go to apply? What's the best process for that?
I guess in today's environment, since they're probably not having coffee in the morning reading a newspaper,
probably not.
On the web, at our website, we have the listing of all the current positions that we have open. And the interesting thing that our HR folks have done is that they have linked that to a number of job boards. So if somebody's used to going to ZipRecruiter, or they're used to going to Indeed, or one of those other types of sites, or even the North Carolina Division of Employment Services, those, when we post a job, it automatically goes to those sites. So I know people set up profiles in them, and I'm interested in this kind of salary, and this kind of work, in this kind of geographic area, and if something pops up, then it sends them an alert so that they can go follow up on it. So we have it automatically linked to those. And they can apply for the job then, going right to our website. And they can have sort of an immediate screening by our HR department and be requested to come in for an interview. So we had a recent job that we had an employee leave, went to HR, posted it. In the time we said post it, till I was over looking at the tool that afternoon with our HR leader, 42 people had applied for the job.
Wow.
So it is really, an instantaneous awareness of what jobs that are out there. So we are all over trying to make this available. We have some we have some things on the local Boss radio station, and I think we're about to see a billboard go up in town advertising it. But the website and the linkage to those other job boards has been a real advantage. And our senior VP for HR out in Lincoln is the one that kind of set all that up. So we have benefit for that. here.
Well, I know that Charlotte's BackyardNC.com also has those job listings
Yes.
and links to other organizations, like you were saying, that have that job listing as well.
Right.
So that's a great place to go and get that information.
And it's always great trying to attract talent, to this area.
Right.
Fortunately, unemployment is quite low in Cleveland
It
County,
is,
so
yeah.
so we're sort of looking outside the bounds of the
Right.
immediate area, trying to attract folks in. And it certainly isn't difficult to attract people to an area that has 15. It's 15% of the national average for cost of living, and I
Yeah.
think houses are like at a 45 or 50% rate of the
They
national
are,
average.
yeah.
And you're a gateway to the mountains, and you got the big
We're
city
a
if you
great
need it.
location
So
for
it's
that. So
really
it's
good for
been
that.
really good. I think when people do come here, it's pretty much an instantaneous fall in love
Right.
situation
Right.
because we are conveniently located between cities and mountains, and we have our quiet little town, and we have a lot of good people here.
Right.
So it is a great place to attract people to live, and when they come, they do seem to really love it, and they
Right.
do seem to stay.
And we got a lot to offer, in the companies. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter how diverse the talent, it's the opportunities there. So
And do you have entry-level positions for people who
We do.
maybe don't have that experience but are wanting to learn and to grow with the company?
we do. I think the managers at the plant have had relationships with the folks here at the community college and in some of the other areas for folks to be able to come over and do internships and hiring after they finish maybe welding programs and things like that. And that we've recently instituted a tiering of our welders so that we can accommodate some entry level, and then as they gain experience in different metals and different welding types, that they can move up in a pay scale. That you don't have to be the best welder on day one.
Right.
Have some basic skills and are willing to be at work every day.
Yeah.
You can progress up the system. So I really think it's a good opportunity for folks to
It seems
try.
so. It seems so. And everyone that I know that works there loves their job, loves
yeah.
the atmosphere. So you do a really good job of making your employees happy and taking care of them.
We try. We have a good benefit package, a couple
Yeah.
of different medical plans that they just started this year, 401k matching, vision, dental.
That's great.
So they have a lot of good perks
That's
and
wonderful.
a generous PTO.
Thank
know.
you so much for being on our
Sure.
show and for telling us all about all three of
Great.
the manufacturing facilities there. We appreciate that, and we hope that a lot of people from around the area, the region, and maybe even across the country have applied or will apply and come and settle here in Cleveland County, North
Great.
Carolina.
Well, thanks so much for the chance to talk about our company.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching. I want to remind you to go to clevelandcountyevents.com to look for things to see and do in the area. Don't forget to share that link with family and friends. And if you have someone visiting and want to show off your hometown, it's a great place to find out things that there are to do and events going on. Thank you for watching Experience Cleveland County, and we'll see you back next time.